This is Beach Talk Radio.
Good morning, Mr. and Mrs. America and all ships at sea. This is your captain speaking, Mean Gene. Mean Gene. The following will be a test of the ship's whistle, the sonar alarm, the cable alarm, and the atomic attack alarm.
Ladies and gentlemen, broadcasting live from the Margaritaville Terrace on Fort Myers Beach, 100 feet from the Gulf of America. Here are your award-winning social media superstars, the hosts of Beach Talk Radio, Kim and Ed Ryan.
Thank you all. Thank you all for coming out to Margaritaville. We're on the big boy side of Margaritaville today. Thank you all for coming out. We have a great show lined up. And before we get to our star interview of the morning, I want to introduce you to Diana from Guardians of Florida Pet Rescue. Did I say that right?
Animal rescue. But
Animal
that's okay.
rescue. By the way, for those of you that saw that Kim found an owl, that we found an owl in our neighborhood. We did hear back from Crow on Friday. The owl is still alive, and they're going to let us know. Allison is going to let us know how the owl is doing next week. She said that sometimes she doesn't like for people to call and ask for updates on animals because they're so busy, like they take in 100 animals a day. And if we were all trying to call in to get updates on the animals, that it would be difficult for them to even answer the phone. So anyway, we'll if we can, we'll keep you updated on the owl. The owl is alive, and hopefully the owl will be set free soon. So speaking of animals, tell us, Diana, about, by the way, this is where we got Petey. We got Petey from Guardians of Florida, and they have a bunch of dogs here today. I don't see the puppy pen yet, but I know there are puppies coming. Before we talk about who you brought with you, tell us a little bit about the organization.
Yeah. Hi. Thank you, everyone. So we are Guardians of Florida Animal Rescue, and a few of us got together in 2021 and formed this rescue, even though we've been involved in rescue for decades. We started out as foster-based. We actually have kennels. So we have a kennel location, and on any given day, we have about 200 animals in our care. Mostly all volunteer. So we don't have huge salaries. Every donation goes directly to the animals. We, last year alone, we adopted out almost 900 dogs. So that's huge because some of the local shelters basically do those numbers. Our animals come from everywhere. Right now, it's huge owner surrender issue going on. Shelters, rescues are overburdened. They come off of the streets of Miami. We help Lee County out all the time. Small local shelters inland that will euthanize. So we obviously are absolutely no kill, tons of medical cases. But so we're here today. We do have a number of animals still coming. Our transport van has not gotten here yet. So these are just some volunteers that brought the dogs on their own. So we have more coming.
All right. And if you're not here right now, you can come by. They'll be here until 2:00.
Yep.
So you can check out. Are you just bringing dogs today, or are you bringing owls too?
We have no owls,
Okay.
but we have gotten in some very strange animals before. Sherry's taken in a goat, guinea pigs, a donkey.
When somebody shows up to the door with a goat,
She takes it, obviously. He was a hurricane goat. So
I see.
came out of Hurricane Ian. He was running around loose. No one knew where he came from.
any chickens? You have any chickens?
We have had chickens.
Yeah. And for those of you that don't know, the location is on Daniels behind the firehouse.
Yeah.
On
Yep.
Daniels. And what's the name of the road?
It's Sophomore Lane. So
Sophomore
it's
Lane.
close to the highway, just about a mile or so in. Convenient location. Like I said, full kennel facility, which is in and of itself a whole other ball game when you're talking foster-based rescues.
So how many dogs do you have there now?
We have almost 200 animals right now so we have about 30 something in foster. We have the rest are in our kennels. We just expanded into cat habitats. So we have 2 cat habitats right now. We have got tons of cats, tons of kittens right now. It's just, it is unbelievable what's happening out there.
And how many dogs per, I know I just focus on dogs because I'm allergic to cats, sorry. But how many dogs would you say you have per cage, like per kennel? How many?
So we have 73 kennels, and our building one is our maternity ward and our quarantine ward. So those are, we have got... I don't know what's going on with dogs, but back in the, my day, they used to have 4 and 5 puppies. Now they're having 11 and 12. It's like, and they're all, So a lot of our dogs are doubled up just because they have to be. We know which ones can get along. Sometimes, it is good. The kennels are big. They're big kennels. But yeah, they're there, and, figure 74 kennels and.
Yeah. So do you need volunteers? You need people?
Always.
What kind of supplies can people drop off or donate?
Yeah.
Or do you have a wish list on Amazon?
We do. We have an Amazon wish list. If you go to our website, our Amazon wish list is there. People don't even realize the laundry detergent we go through. We wash all day long. We have 2 sets of washers and dryers, commercial units, and they run morning till night. Towels, like I said, Dawn dish detergent, paper towels. We're always in need of a used towel. So if you're throwing towels out, please think of us. We just wash and go through them. Like I said, the kennels are just, the amount of supplies is unbelievable.
And the website address is gofar.
Gofar.dog. Gofar.dog is our website. Yep. We have an Amazon wish list and a Chewy wish list. So if anyone was interested, we are right now, we have so many kittens. We have a cat drive going on, kitten drive for food, supplies, supplemental milk, because Sherry is up every 2-3 hours, hand bottle feeding kittens right now.
Jeez.
Yep.
Now, how is our favorite dog, Honey, doing?
Honey is doing excellent.
Just a little bit of history. You guys all raised, I don't know how much money we raised for Honey to get an operation because some douche maneuver shot the dog.
Buckshot. So she was loaded with buckshot, for you guys that don't know. Her legs just riddled everywhere. She went through multiple surgeries to try to get the buckshot out. We thought that she might have need an amputation. Thank God she didn't. You were able to meet Honey at the Tiki event, and you saw her paw is still like it's
never going to be fixed.
No, it won't be fixed, but she's doing really well. She's loved right now. She'll be good soon.
Is she ready to be adopted?
Not
or it's
yet.
Still too soon. Okay.
Yep.
So you were saying how much it costs to run your operation. And you're all volunteers. It's important for people to know how much it costs to run that.
Yeah, we are basically all volunteer. We have one consultant and a few kennel cleaners. Thank God for them. So we have kennel cleaners that are there crack of dawn and all through the night. But our expenses are more than $50,000 a month. And like I said, we get small grants every now and then. Our money comes from donations and our adoption fees.
And I was trying to see.
And we don't have executive directors making 6 figures. Nothing comes from the state. Nothing comes from the city or the town.
Look who's here, everybody.
And that's who you were just asking about.
I know, right? And you can see her left paw.
He was just asking about Honey.
Yes. Her left paw is all, I don't know if people can see on the camera, almost that it's still kind of
floppy.
Yeah, but that's just, it's just got no bandages on.
She has no bones left.
No bandages on anymore. And there you go. Hello, Honey. How are you doing? Yes. And you guys, I don't remember, we raised a crap load of money to help her with the surgeries. Did you say how many surgeries she had?
What has she gone through?
She had 2 surgeries.
2 surgeries.
But a month in an emergency clinic.
Yeah.
Yes. The emergency clinic's over in Miami. It's VCA Knowles. So when we saw her in Miami-Dade Animal Services and the condition she was in, we decided that we needed to help.
When you take her to a vet, do you have to pay the vet the full price, or the vets? Yes, you're looking like yes, everything, no breaks. Yeah.
They do give a small break. The reason why we do go to Miami is they're a little more forgiving to us. So Sherry being she was from over that area, has connections. But again, we have to drive all the way over to Miami, drop them off. We do have some vets here we work directly with, and they do small discounts, which we're thankful for.
Yeah. And so the way we got Petey was we were doing one of these pet adoptions at the brewery in Gateway. And my wife was walking around showing off. It was it wasn't called Petey at the time. I think it was Lucky at the time. And of course, the dog was tiny. So everybody was, they loved the puppies. They loved the puppies that didn't get adopted. So I went the next, I think, Wednesday of that week and said, give me that dog right there. And so we have Petey. And it was, I think you said it was from a litter of quite a few of a lady that was hoarding pet puppies or something.
Yeah, I think
how can you remember every story for every dog?
I don't. Sherry, thankfully, has a much better memory than me, and she's with them all the time. But yeah, we get tons of hoarding cases. So they call us. The authorities call us a lot, and then some realize they are overburdened, and they actually surrender them themselves.
Yeah, crazy. All right. So how? One more time, how people can help out?
Yeah, so check out our website, please, www.gofar.dog. And like I said, we have our Amazon wish list, our Chewy wish list is there. So anything, even small donations, obviously they add up. We always need volunteers. We have dog walkers just to bathe. We bathe our dogs all the time. We're on a rotation for bathing the animals every morning. There's so many things we could do. Today we have some brand new volunteers here, so we thank them for finding our organization. Yep, and volunteering.
Now you see that general manager of Margaritaville right there in that the flowery shirt. He wants a puppy.
All right.
He saw Petey a couple of times and he said, I want a puppy just like that. It's got to be a young puppy so that he doesn't want a big dog. He wants to be able to train a young puppy. So he's a fish on the hook right there. He's ready to take
Sherry
him home.
On him.
Yeah. So we got to see some of those. Did they bring the puppies up yet, or are we still
I don't
waiting?
think the transport van's here yet, or they're trying to get situated.
All right. Well, hopefully you guys can all walk over and take a look at. Okay, we got a couple small dogs here.
They're starting to come up.
All right. And do you need some help downstairs?
I think we're good.
Up?
Yeah,
okay.
I think we're okay.
Any last words you want anybody to know about, Diana?
No. Well, to you, Ed, always thank you. You're promoting us. You got Petey from us, so we really are so thankful to you.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Big hand for Diana. Come over and donate if you can, or buy some product if you can, and see the dogs. They're going to be here until 2:00 today. So thank you very much, Diana, from Guardians of Florida Animal Rescue.
Got it.
Thank you very much. All right. Appreciate it. And I know Tom went over to use the little boys' room. So before we start our big interview with Tom Torgerson, the CEO of TPI and Margaritaville, I do want to remind you about tomorrow's show at 10:00 at Wahoo. Oh, the reason Kim's not here is because we have our own dog issues. Our third dog, Callie, had a tumor removed from her back on, I think it was Wednesday or Thursday. So she's got to keep the puppy away from the dog. And so we're kind of, the dog wants to play, the puppy wants to play with the big dogs. And, now Callie's got one of those cones on her head. The dogs will really get embarrassed by that cone on their head. But somehow she figured out with the cone on her head to get the bandage off yesterday. And so she is making sure the dogs stay separated and everything is fine with Callie. She's going to be totally fine. But she's hanging out with the dogs, which means our interview today will be without any a no holds barred interview today. Nobody holding us back on that. But no, tomorrow at 10:00, the vice mayor will be on the show tomorrow at Wahoo Willie's, and then the Cruisers Appreciation Day is from 1:00 to 3:30 at Bayside Park. That is open to the public. You buy a ticket for $25, and it gets you a meal at Snug Harbor, and it gets you entered into a drawing. A bunch of nonprofits will be at Bayside Park tomorrow, and that's right before the music. So please come on down to Bayside Park tomorrow, starting at 1:00. It's the town showing their appreciation for all the boaters that stay out at the mooring field, and that's from 1 to 3:30 tomorrow. So without any further ado, big hand for our next guest, the CEO of Margaritaville and TPI, Tom Torgerson. Thank you, Tom. We're going to get right to the big question right off the bat. Have a seat. Pick your chair. or pick both chairs if you'd like to. That's going to be your microphone right there. Yeah. So the big question right away is, why did you stop selling Blue Moon here?
Oh, we did?
I know you're probably not involved in that.
I think I just saw you near. I think we could fix that.
No, that's okay. No. So the first question is, I kind of wanted to start off with the resort. Hurricane season starts June 1st. You guys have gone through a couple of nightmare hurricanes being here right on the beach. I forget the guy's name, but we had somebody on a couple of weeks ago was showing us those hurricane panels, and you guys are actually going to use those. So how are you preparing for the next, if there is one, hurricane?
And we're hoping by preparedness that we don't have any more. So we are happy to invest the monies into to prevention, of mitigation of damage. But I think we've earned a few decades passage on any more storms. But we are we've done a number of things already, and we have things in the works. We have things getting manufactured. Just to list them quickly, we've discovered we have quite a few openings in our buildings at the grade level and up to 3 or 4 feet, and you really can't totally prepare for with a property like this right along the coast, for something like an Ian. But if we can prepare for something like a Helene and there under, even Milton, that was a bugger. That one, it's hard to prevent damage from a Milton. But if we can prevent prepare for a 3-foot surge and below, and we can handle the wind, it's the surge that's the real damaging factor. That's what we're aiming for. And so first thing was just to plug up all our openings, and we had a mason working here for a month and a half, just plugging up all our openings. The next thing is this Garrison floodgate, and that's who you had on the show. They're fabricated. It's in fabrication now. Floodgates for 78 openings. So an opening is an elevator that goes down to grade. An opening is any window, any utility access, any window, any garage door. And we have in fabrication all those floodgates that will take you up to about the doorknob level.
So it didn't look like they were that high when he showed them off, but are they, or do you have to stack two of them?
You stack the panels.
I see.
Yeah, they're about 8-inch panels.
Speaking of openings, when Milton came through, and I appreciate you guys allowing me to stay. I was staying on the beach side. Some of you might have seen the videos. In the middle of the night, I heard these crashing noises that I was like, what the hell? Is there some kind of some people downstairs partying or something? The noises that I was hearing was not people partying. What happened was the storm surge had lifted up the whatever picnic tables you guys had left on the sand or tied down, thinking that they'll be fine. They're heavy enough to be fine. Well, they were lifted up and they crashed through the garage doors, and they were stuck in la-di-da with all the sand that was there too. It was just crazy. The storm surge from Milton. It wasn't even an Ian storm surge. It was a Milton. So I'm guessing you're part of those garage doors. You're going to have
absolutely the floodgates. There's 10 garage doors that's included. Then the next big initiative is we're in permitting now with Florida DEP to raise the height of our seawall by 2 feet. The entire length of our property. They call it a cap, and it'd be a 2-foot cap. We have the contractor lined up. The price is all agreed to. It's down to permitting, and who knows? We'll probably get it done about the day before a storm shows up. But that's going. And then
why add 2 feet to that?
That's really all the engineering could withstand. There's the velocity impact of the surge, and the higher you go, there's more leverage, and it could pull the seawall out of the ground.
No kidding.
Yeah.
So for those of you that might not know, back in the beginning when you were pitching the Grand Resorts, you had also included a seawall that would have gone from where to where?
It would have been on the Up Island side of Edison House all the way down to Shuckers. And it would have been buried under a boardwalk. And it would have elevated the boardwalk along the beach about 5 feet. But the sand would have been sloped down from there, and then seagrass planted in there.
You were going to pay for all that yourself?
Yeah, we were paying for it. We had it all engineered. We actually had it approved. through the DEP and the Army Corps. But yeah, it was not.
What was the cost? What would that have cost you?
Back then, it was only like $500,000.
No way.
I bet it's millions today. I do.
So how thick would the seawall have been? You're saying a boardwalk.
Well, the boardwalk would be much bigger than the seawall. The seawall would only be about 3-4 feet in width. It'd be underneath it. You wouldn't even see the seawall.
But you were going to build the boardwalk also,
On
which would
top
have
of
been
it.
for walkers and bikers.
Just public walkway from Edison House down to Shuckers. And the reason we stopped at Shuckers was because if you remember the old Shuckers, their building went way forward into the environmentally critical zone. And we just could not figure out a way to deal with that issue. Even the Pierside grill, we were able to take it right through the restaurant. We had that figured out, to take it through the restaurant. So we had that challenge figured out, but we just couldn't get beyond Shuckers.
And what was the reason? Like, we know why the resort wasn't approved the way it was because of the size, but why not that?
Okay, so in the town code, they don't allow seawalls on the Gulf side of the island. It's disallowed. You can't get a permit for one. That's got to change.
Why?
Ask somebody smarter than me.
Okay, because I bet you they probably would like to have them now.
I think it's going to change.
Okay.
I really think
so
it's going to
in
change.
the code right now, it says you can't build a seawall.
Have it. But I wouldn't say it was because of the code, but the code does say you cannot have seawalls. That just gave ammunition to the people that didn't want to see this happen. I think it was we didn't educate well enough. I blame ourselves. You know, it was just too much change. The grand resorts on top of the boardwalk, on top of the armoring wall. It was too much at one time to absorb. And I think it just overwhelmed people.
Well, we've talked about this before, but what do you think the difference would have been if it actually was put in for Times Square?
It would be there. It would be there. There'd be damage, but it would be there. It would be flood damage. It wouldn't be velocity damage, which is a huge difference.
Right, because what knocked all those buildings down was the storm surge.
The velocity.
Yeah.
It was the velocity. Yeah,
Okay.
It was the wave action. So I'm even keeping my mind on the question.
Thank you, because I can't.
The last piece of it is, and really important, this $40 million beach nourishment that is nearing completion. They may not get it all done by turtle season, which is the end of this month. They're racing like heck right now to get as much done as they can. You know, they've been set back with a triple header of hurricanes this last season. I think they're doing an outstanding job, but there will be some follow-up next year.
Yeah.
And in front of our property, we're fortunate we didn't get it done before the triple header, but we were right after that. I think we were about Christmas time that they got the nourishment in front of our property. And then we hired the excavation company that the town has to shape the beach in front of the resort. And what we did is a couple of things. We exposed our seawall about 3 feet on average. And then we took the sand and we created a berm towards the Gulf. And that berm is 6 feet higher than what the beach was pre-nourishment. And we created a berm, and we're going to vegetate that berm. Chad with the town on the environmental side is going to do all the plantings. And then also we're going to plant a sea grape hedge along our seawall. And then one of the things that we're dealing with, unassociated with storm, I mean, I could go on forever, I'm sorry, but is we're dealing with turtles too.
Oh, hold on, before you get to the turtles, I hope the town residents have a party for Chad. If you guys have been to Leonardo Arms, I went this morning, and it's amazing how much sand they have outside that seawall right now at Leonardo Arms. Those people are giddy. They hear that machinery at 3 o'clock in the morning, and they're smiling, outside their window, because the sand now from that seawall is like 150 feet out where it used to be water. It's amazing the job the town. I know there's been some gushers over here with the pipe underneath, but shit's gonna happen when you're lining pipes 6 miles down the beach and you burying it so people can hang out on the sand. But the project, this beach is amazing right now, Tom.
It really is, and Chad really deserves a lot of applause. I mean, just think of all the property owners he has to deal with, and all the different personalities, and all the education, and all the accommodation. And he's just really the right person for the job. And the contractor's the right person. Remember when they let the bids out, the one of the contractors really picked on the contractor that we chose, the lower price one. But, they've worked in the Caribbean. They've done this around the Caribbean, around Florida, and they're doing an exceptional job.
And they had to take their equipment out of the water twice for Helene and Milton.
Oh my gosh, they did it more.
What a nightmare.
Their equipment have come into port, I don't know how many times. But so that berm and that vegetative berm will be 6 feet higher than what the beach was previously. The nourishment in itself is raising the beach about 4 foot in elevation, in addition to extending the beach outward, seaward about 150 feet. So those are kind of all the big things that we're doing to try to mitigate future damage to the resort. Fins Up Beach Club and our La-Di-Da are the primary. Those are the noses we're trying to protect the most.
How's business?
I'm very pleased. After the triple header, we got this place put back together really quickly from a functional standpoint. It's taken longer to get landscape and some other things, some fine tuning done, but really, with the last one, the biggest one being Milton, and I think that was that was early October. Was that the 4th or something? It was early October. We really had this place put back together by mid-November. It was almost a miracle. It was within a month. And but the public, the travelers, the people out of the area didn't really have the faith yet, the trust yet that, they thought Fort Myers Beach got to finally be wiped off the map,
Yeah.
After all this. And so the bookings were really slow to come back. And I call it the hangover, the triple header hangover. And it wasn't really till January started to perk up, not just because of season, but relative to where it should be in January. And then February did a nice step up. Again, not where it should be compared to season, but it really stepped up. And then after that, it's just shooting the lights out. Just fantastic, showing tremendous growth over prior year.
Now, the base of the bridge here, it's nice to have it back open. It seems like with season coming to an end and with the base of the bridge back open, it's like a little bit of air out of the traffic balloon. And when you come from Fort Myers down to the beach, you can see the 2 lanes. It really does look nice. It's still, at the end of the day, it's only going to be 1 lane when you get on the island, unless you're making a right, the whole thing. But it is starting to it is starting to help a little bit down here, don't you think?
It is. Getting rid of the detour was a massive step forward. But really, the enhancement elements of this design aren't being realized yet. And so I think the jury's out. I hope everybody will keep an open mind. I'm optimistic that we're going to see improvement. I mean, yes, you've seen dramatic improvement from having a detour take you around Crescent Street and 5th Street. That was just an absolute nightmare. The first day I saw that detour sign go up, I was like, this isn't going to work. Yeah, it isn't going to work at all. But so we got kind of calloused, used to, all the backups from that. So it's such a relief just to have the lanes open. But once, you have 2 lanes coming on island, once it's all functional, so you can go north without deterring traffic going south. I think that's going to be huge. And the stoplights, hopefully they are coordinated.
And there's going to be a light on this end of the bridge, on the other end of the bridge, and then that light is eventually going to be fixed over on Old San Carlos and Estero. So there's 4 lights that the state says are going to be synced together.
Right, and seeing will be believing, of course. But the theory's good, and I just hope we're all open-minded, and let's see how it all works. But it can't be worse than it was. It's going to be better. It's going to be an improvement. It's just how much of an improvement it's going to be. And the aesthetics are going to be tremendously improved. This project has been in the works for probably about 8 years.
Yeah, and I think those 2 lanes coming over the bridge, there needs to be some kind, maybe it was definitely the vice mayor who said there needs to be some kind of either signage or education process that if you're in that right lane, that means that you're going up this way. If you're in the left lane, you're going south on the island. If people don't know that, they're not going to know that at the beginning, especially if they're not really paying attention that there are now 2 lanes. And then he also suggested, can you have 2 lanes coming over the bridge in the morning and 2 lanes leaving the bridge at night?
It seems logical, like a hub lane process. I don't know.
I've never seen that in action anywhere. Have you?
I have, yeah.
Who's in control of that? It just seems like a ton of work to figure out.
Oh, no, it's time of day. I mean, it's
Just
simple.
switch it
It's really
a certain
simple.
time of
It's
day.
time of day. You have gates that
Gates.
divert the traffic
Gotcha.
from access and stuff. But the other thing I was going to say on this issue of, wait and see and be optimistic is that there's so much congestion coming from the north end, at the change of shift time, the 4 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock time in the afternoon. And the only way that they have to get off the beach is to go through Old San Carlos, come across, come up Crescent, come through 5th Street and circle all around, all through the downtown district to get on the bridge and leave. And that will change. All they'll have to do now is on Estero Boulevard coming from the north, they take a right onto Estero Boulevard and do the oval about and go right off the bridge. It eliminates all that traffic from going through downtown.
And for anybody that doesn't know, this piece of property that you see out here that isn't developed yet, what is that going to be?
That is going to be the Lee Tran open air Tran operation is going to base out of there. That's really their last property that they have on the island to base out of, and that's what they're going to use it for.
But that was your property.
Some of it was, and we'll get into that.
You
later.
Donated it as public benefit.
Yeah.
By the way,
I think the last topic of the day, we'll get into that.
When you see the landscaping that's going to be put up to hopefully prevent people from crossing the street, that's going to be maintained by Margaritaville. That's real public benefit. Just so you know that it sounded like the state said they were not getting to that until 27, which didn't really make any sense. But
the roadway construction was under the guidance and management of Lee County, Lee Dot, and that's now completed other than the signalization. The landscape is under the guidance of FDOT, so the state. And they haven't even, I don't think they've even finished design on the specifications to put it out for bid. It hasn't even gone out for bid. I don't think the landscape is going to be done for a year, is my opinion.
Yeah.
Which we're just happy. Let's just get it functional.
Right. Anything else under that before we get to
the next topic? What is the next topic?
The biggest topics of the day? Occupancy, all that stuff.
Yeah, we've talked about turtles probably enough.
Turtles, yeah. Turtle season starts May 1st, just so you know, if you live on the island. You have to have your lights off, right, Dave? All lights need to be off. And I know that we'll talk about this with the vice mayor tomorrow about the turtle lighting that's going in on Estero Boulevard.
Maybe one more thing to talk about business. For those that aren't in my industry, the hospitality and lodging industry, for decades now, there's this company that was established called Smith Travel Research. And they forged relationships with the brands. I call them the brands, franchise companies in our industry on the lodging side, whereby all our property management systems, all the electronic accounting for all the revenues, all the reservations and so on are tied directly under agreement, under confidentiality agreements. They cannot disclose individual information of a property, but it flows into this company. I call it the Fort Knox of the hotel industry. Smith Travel Industry or Smith Travel Reporting. And they put together reports, and there's guidelines under which they can disclose the data. They can't tell you what Pink Shell's information is. They can't tell you what Margaritaville's information is. They can't tell you what Diamond Head is or any property. They can't tell you what it is. But in clusters and groups of 5 properties, you can get the exact numbers of what that group, how it performs, occupancy, rate, and revenue per available room, and it's to a penny. It's not guessing. It's you don't have to go out and interview people. You can pick they call it a comp set. So we have 3 comp sets that we use, and it starts with a closer radius, and then it reaches out a little larger, and then it starts to include Collier County. But the one that's most important to us is the one here in Lee County. And we figure that, right now at this point, before Sanibel has more properties of magnitude coming online, that our competitive set that are open properties and resorts would be Pink Shell, Margaritaville, Diamond Head, Sanibel Harbor Marina, or what is it called? The Marriott Sanibel Harbor, the Westin Tarpon Point, and then the Hyatt Coconut Point. Those 5 properties we consider to be in our closest geographic area here are, most likely type operations to us. And I can give you the seasonal exact information of how these properties performed as a group of 5. The occupancy during this season was 75.4%. It was up 0.4%, so up just modestly from prior year. Margaritaville, I can tell you because I know the numbers, was up 3.8% and was the number one occupancy hotel amongst those 5 properties. The rate of the comp set of the 5 was $446, and that was actually down 2.6% from prior year. I can't exactly explain why, but it was down 2.6%. Margaritaville was up 2.9% and was number 2 of the category in rate. I kind of think that the Hyatt Coconut Point is probably the highest rated property in our comp set. So the key number, and I'm probably boring you guys to death.
For sure. You're boring me to death. I mean, I'm just being honest. I have no idea what the hell you're talking about right now. And I don't want to interrupt you because I'm trying to be nice, but I don't even know why we're talking about this shit.
Okay, let's move on. Let's move on.
So let me ask some questions. Holy Christ, Tom. I don't know why you brought that shit.
That's why I brought this along. I mean, I don't even have this on the top of
I'm
my
gonna
head.
edit that. I'm gonna edit that part out of the show.
You asked me, how's the market doing?
I did?
And I gave you a
Did I ask him
specific,
that?
I gave you a
I'm sorry.
specific answer.
You sure did, man. I felt like you were Jim Adderholt for a second right there. It was just like, wow, going in a rabbit hole right here. Oh, so Tom, let me ask you some general questions. What do you think of how Fort Myers Beach is redeveloping?
Well, never fast enough for any of us. You know, I live here. Mary and I are year-rounders. We 2 years ago, we actually sold our last personal asset up in Minnesota. So we are truly here and live here year-round. Other than on our boat, we love to go to the islands in the summer. That's our break each year. But how do I feel that the islands recovering? You don't like to hear this, but really well if you compare it to any other like kind disaster. And the recovery of it, but yet never quick enough for us. And financially, the town's doing really great under the circumstances. Their future is really bright. There is so much what I like to say in our industry we call it pipeline. And I didn't graduate from college, but I did take some courses. And the course that was most enlightening to me was statistics. And I learned, I mean, it was just like it opened up my eyes. It was so many aha moments, how people can play with numbers and play with statistics and tell almost any story that they want to tell. And I'm like, I mean, you can see a billboard and you can see a bar chart up there of whatever they're trying to depict. And they cut the bottom half of the bar chart off. So it looks like this property or this location is performing so much better than that one, but really it's you're just splitting hairs because they cut most of the bar chart off. And so when you get a lot of information around here, TDC, not to be critical, but they don't tell both sides of the story. So are you ready?
Keep it short.
So the other half of the story is pipeline. So where are we at this moment? What's under construction? What's approved? Okay, but the other half of the story is what's in the pipeline, what's coming through the conduit, what's going to happen. They talk about hotel rooms, and this property needs hotel rooms to support the infrastructure of what we have here.
Not this property, the beach.
Our property needs more hotel rooms on this island to support the entertainment complex that we have here.
Gotcha.
Our 254 rooms cannot support the infrastructure of what we have here. We need VRBOs. We need more hotel rooms. We want them. We need them. So I want to try to dispel as best as I can that my opinions, and I call it coming off the bench. I've been on the bench for about 8 months just because it's kind of tough to get out and speak your piece and your opinion. And you got to be thick-skinned to take some of the abuse that, we all get on social media.
Tell me about it. I know I caused half of it, but no. So if
my point is that my 4.5 decades of building hospitality enterprises, restaurants, and hotels was based on synergy. I call it synergy. That's a big word that I use. Well, it's not a big word, but it means a lot. I like to build competition to my pre-existing businesses. I can cite so many places in Minnesota, in different communities in different areas of the metropolitan area where we built as many as 6 hotels and a couple of restaurants where you could stand in the middle of them and throw a tennis ball and hit the parking lot of all of them. And they compete against each other. They're priced against each other. Their products compete against each other. What competition does is establishes you as not a transient stopover. It creates a destination. So FMB, downtown district, it becomes a destination. It's not just Margaritaville. And the bigger the destination is on a map, the more people that are going to come here. And that tide raises all boats. So my view of the growth in commercial activity on the island is quite different than some of the criticism that I've been given.
All right.
It's not selfishly motivated.
All right, Jim. I mean, Tom. I got a lot of questions, so let's not be here until 3:00. So the first, how would you grade the town council since Hurricane Ian?
I think we have a really, really super LPA. I think that they're committed. They're sharp. They're smart. They take it really, really serious. They want the best for the community, and in our council, I have to give them a B.
So you give the LPA an A.
I give the LPA an A and
Yes.
the council a B.
All right, good. So if you were on the town council, would you have voted yes for Seagate?
What should we start with, Ed? I'd say that, right now the projects that are before us, Arches is before us.
Can we stick to the questions? I'll ask, or you can tell me no, you don't want to answer that.
I will answer that, but I think you need to understand.
We're going to go down the list. We are.
Okay.
Arches.
Can we go in my order or your order?
No, my order.
All right, let's go.
It is your resort, but it is my show, so you can't overrule me. No, would you have voted yes or no on Seagate if you were on the town council and you had nothing to do with the resort or anything?
I don't want to be a Monday afternoon quarterback. That's really difficult to be. I will say what I think I would have done. I don't know what I would have done in the hot seat, but looking back, what I would hope I would have done is negotiate and meet middle ground. I think it was too spontaneous an approval. I think there's regrets, though there maybe won't be admitted. I love Jim Annerholt to death and think the most of him, and there's not anything in his bones that are anything but the best for Fort Myers Beach. I think there needed to be a pause. I think there needed to be hey, come on, let's talk a little bit about this. Obviously, the neighborhood doesn't like what's being proposed here. I think it's terribly obvious. It was just terribly obvious. Let's talk about that. What can we do to maybe not each side is going to feel great about this, but can we get to a middle ground instead of one side take all? And
the thing on that, and I didn't say anything. I don't have an opinion on Seagate. I don't live here. It doesn't matter to me. I know it matters to a lot of people, but the thing that I was most perplexed by were two things: that they got 17, and I couldn't believe they got 17. And I watched people in the Tropical Shores Way neighborhood complain, or not complain, but they were worried there was going to be a mooring field building there, which wasn't 17. And the community, that road of people, went to the town council and they voiced their concerns, and they got saved. They got saved from that building. And the neighborhood, every time I know I asked 3 town council members, do you feel like you protected the neighborhood? And there never really was a straight answer. Like, because you can't say I did. I mean, you can't really say I did. But I mean, I'm glad I didn't have to vote on it. I mean, I wouldn't have voted for 17, I can tell you that, but I'm glad I didn't have to be put in that position because it had to be difficult for them.
I'm sure it was, and I empathize. But anytime you have either commercial encroachment on residential or high density encroachment on residential, to not try to work with the neighborhood, I think is a mistake. I think even Matt Price was shocked he got what he got. I really do. If you really got an honest answer out of him, so I can't say what I would have done. But I'm sitting here today. If I could vote today, I would say I'd negotiate. I wouldn't say no. But yeah. I would negotiate.
So Arches. Now the thing I want to weave the Arches into Times Square, Terry. because when you watch what Ben did, Ben, who is nobody can argue he's a great community partner. He sponsors things. Their family's been running that business in the community forever. Anita talks about how she's known the Freeland family forever. He did meetings for over a year at the Pink Shell and met with the neighbors as much as you can meet with the neighbors. You can never make everybody happy, but Ben was out there, trying to meet and do the best he could. And he still got turned away by the LPA. He noticed that he wasn't going to get approval, and he went back to the drawing board and he toned it down. And he eventually got the neighborhood company involved, which, Patrick and those guys know how to mold things into what the community wants, because Patrick used to be on the LPA. He went back to the drawing board and he came back to the LPA and he got it approved. And so that whole process of what they went through was really a negotiating process. And that's going to be a fabulous addition, I think, to that area on that part of where things are moving to, down to the end of Old San Carlos. What did you think of the arches?
When they withdrew, which they never went before LPA, correct? They withdrew before going before LPA.
They never got a vote.
Right, never had a vote. I bent Ben's ear and I bent Patrick's ear, both of them independently, and applauded them at that stage because I was actually opposed to it prior to that moment, and in all disclosure. And I bent their ear and what I thought was reasonable and would fit in that location. And I really feel a resort fits there. I just don't feel the initial plan at that scale was appropriate, would feel good, and function good in that location on this island. And so I bent their ear, and they retooled. They did retool in a very smart way, and I applaud them wholeheartedly. I'll be up speaking out publicly in support of them going forward through the council process. I think it's a great project, and just welcome them with open arms. I think the thoughtful conditions that the LPA suggests to the council to address neighborhood concerns doesn't fix everything,
right?
But it really, really did a nice job of welding some kind of middle ground. So that's my opinion.
Right. And just so you folks know, there are 2 public hearings before they are, in the bag. They have 2.
Really one. The first one's the biggie.
Well, why do you say there are 2 though?
There are 2, but the second one is usually a foregone conclusion.
If
by
they
the time
vote
you
yes
get
on the
to
first one.
Not just because of voting yes, but what happens between the first one and the second one in meetings and stuff. Just you know what you need to do to get over the finish line. Having been there,
I see.
You know what you need to do to get over the finish line.
And the first one is the first Monday in May, I believe. That town council meeting is when the arches comes up, and then the second one I think is June. I don't think they have any consecutive meetings during the same month, but
I think they have to be 30 days apart from each other. For
all right,
the
so
public
May and
hearing.
June for the arches, and I think you also wanted to talk about the lighthouse.
The lighthouse is coming 4th Tuesday with their second edition, Post Ian for lodging, which I fully support. Their current building that's closest abutting to the bridge there is the one that they're addressing, and they want to tear that down and replace it. And I wholeheartedly support it from a number of directions. Again, it's the right project in the right location. It's not obstructing a view corridor. It's bringing good value. There are people that will follow through. They will do what they say they're going to do. What you see is what you're going to get in an end product. You're going to get it in a timely time. And I should have said that about Ben and the Freelands, that what does get approved will get built, and will get built the way that you see it, and will be done in a quality-like fashion. So for all those reasons, I really support the Kohlers are fantastic neighbors. And their project is really worthy of the town's approval, I believe.
Now, there's an organization that has filed a writ against the town. There's not a lawsuit. I know Tom is here. Tom is it the president of the organization? Okay. And so their plan is to try and challenge the town on approving Seagate. By the way, have you donated to that organization?
I have given a couple bucks.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Interesting.
I think that the review is warranted. And that's what it is a review. It's not a lawsuit, as you said. It's a review. It's just asking for administrative review that the proper procedures were followed. And I think we all want to know if they were, because let's say, for example, the court comes back and said, yep, all the procedures and rules were followed. What does that mean to our community? Well, I guess the sky's the limit, and no pun intended. But if they come back and say, hey, I read this comp plan, and this is not a close fit. It just is not aligned with your comprehensive plan. And you really need to take this back through and do a restart. I'm hoping for the latter. We don't know, and I'll support whatever the outcome is. But I believe.
So your view must.
I believe Protect FMB has a legitimate place in this community and what they're doing.
So, what part of the process do you think the town didn't follow? Where in the process did they not follow? Because the town attorney said during a meeting,
I understand,
you guys are fine approving this. Because one of the council members asked Nancy to say, hey, if we approve this, are we on solid ground? And she said, yes. Now, lawyers have different opinions, obviously. So where do you think the process broke down?
I think that the vision, the narrative, and the guidelines of the comprehensive plan is where the huge discrepancies going to occur. When we were incorporated, our founding fathers and mothers had a vision that this island was going to redevelop, that it was going to redevelop organically, maybe 50 years, maybe 60 years, but they had that kind of a long-term vision. Their vision wasn't short-term. They didn't anticipate an Ian. Nobody anticipated an Ian. Nobody could anticipate an Ian, which moves the redevelopment of the island from a snail's pace over many, almost generational time frame to overnight at lightning speed, and it just couldn't. But the point I want to make, and without boring you, the point I want to make is that our founding mothers and fathers had that long-term vision, and it's in the comprehensive plan. And what was approved, I believe, is in direct conflict with what I read in the comprehensive plan. And we'll see what the judge rules. But it's not a lawsuit, and I can't imagine this organization that the group. I don't know if it's an organization or what, but
it's a 501c3,
and I don't really know what that is either. But and I don't need to. I believe in their cause. I believe they have a place, and we'll find out what the outcome is.
Yeah, I think if you go and read the comprehensive plan, if you look through I don't know which one it's in, the comprehensive plan or the land development code, there actually are pictures of what the folks that put that together thought Red Coconut.
They knew Red Coconut was one of the first places to be the major redevelopment on this island.
Yeah, and that it was basically a housing neighborhood. It looked like a neighborhood with roads and houses and things like that.
But lower profile buildings. They really had a vision for it to be a neighborhood type feel, not a Naples kind of a feel. And I'm not knocking Naples. Naples is Naples.
Yeah.
And you want to get a taste of it, you go down there. And I think most of us here on Fort Myers Beach, because of the vibe and the feel that we have here, we don't wear who we are on our shirt sleeves just for one difference. I live in a penthouse. No, I live down in this lower level. It's a different mindset. We're different people. They're good people. We're good people. But we see who we rub shoulders with a little bit differently, or choose who we rub shoulders with a little bit differently.
Okay.
And I just don't see Naples fitting into Fort Myers Beach.
Wow, you're getting more applause than I've gotten in the last 7 years. So
that's because you answer short questions with such short answers.
Right. So before we move on, you want to tell us how much you donated?
No.
Okay.
No. I don't know if Anita did that either.
No, she didn't.
No, it's inconsequential.
Right.
But I think they've done really well. I don't have the accounting or even know where they're at, but I think they're doing really well. I think they got plenty of funds to see themselves through on this, on their efforts that they want to do.
We're all friends, Anita, you, everybody, the whole.
Everybody, I'm friends with everybody in council.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
That makes it tough, and that's why I say this is the biggest little island on the planet. which makes it really, really difficult, you know, and I'm doing it. I'm off the bench here today, but to speak your piece. And I have a business, and it's like, well, God, are people going to, you know, not come here because they don't agree with my opinion? You know, you can't help it but think about that.
I hear what you're saying.
Am I going to lose what I thought was a friend because of what I say? And I hope not. But I'm friends with every single counselor, their spouses.
All right.
It's a really big, small island.
So on May 2nd, Friday, we're going to have Anita, a special show with Anita at the Islands Pancake House, which is this coming Friday at 9 o'clock. We're also going to have Mike and Dawn on from the Whale to give an update on their awesome looking building. What did you think of Karen and Scott, who you were also friends with, publicly criticizing Anita for donating to the organization?
Oh boy. I just admitted that, you know, Mary and I have made a contribution. It's inconsequential, but this writ of certiorari, this isn't a lawsuit against the town. This is not costing the town any money.
Tom, we went through that. Just answer the question. What did you think of the criticism?
I think they jumped the gun. I think they maybe took it as a personal attack on themselves and wasn't intended that way.
Okay, fair enough. All right. So the elephant in the, I don't know if he answered the question, but it's good enough. So the elephant in the room is this. We've got a development that's coming before the LPA on Tuesday, and it's for a 4 to 5 story. Okay. It's so interesting because if you read, I think it was Fox 4 today, it said 3-story. It's certainly not a 3-story building. And it's not over by the pier. It's right in this parking spot here. It's right across from where La Ola is. So I don't know why Fox was over on the other side doing the story there, but we're talking about it being right here. Just so you know those facts, the building is right here. It'd be 4 or 5. In the proposal, it says 4 or 5. And what Terry Prasad is asking for is to take what he lost, which is not fair. He did lose a restaurant, and replace it with a 50-unit hotel plus restaurants and retail in that 0.5 acres. Now, do I have that right? Is it 0.5 or 0.9? I know there's
0.5. What, you know, like Margaritaville, in our approval was considered 5.2 acres. We're really just under 8 acres of land that we own. But what downsized us from just under 8 to just over 5 is that you can't count where you can't build. So the environmentally critical zone, the seaward of the setback, the sandy beach as you know it, you cannot build on that. And so you can't count that into your developable acreage. And so the 0.5 acres of the Prasad project is accurate.
So I know Fred at Buffalo Grill was trying to argue with me on Facebook about that. It's more than 0.5. His proposal says 0.53 acres where he's putting that Disney building. And yeah, it said 0.9 somewhere, but that must have included the sand. So that structure of 58,000 square feet, I believe, is going to be proposed for 0.5. Now, there were no public meetings. There were no charrettes, as they call them. There were no let me get some kind of community involvement. There was a meeting Thursday.
And actually, we're their biggest neighbor next to them and never invited into a conversation.
So, and so I don't know if it's really Terry, but somebody that claims he's Terry made a comment on our Facebook page or on our website. You can go and read it yourself. The thing is, it's hard for me to know. I tried to check the email address and it didn't match up with the one I had, but it said that ask Tom why he's against development in Times Square. Now that's going to be Terry's MO when that thing gets rejected on Tuesday, hopefully by a vote of 0-7. If it even gets to a vote, that he's going to, his claim is going to be that, well, nobody wants to redevelop Times Square. If it's not his way, then nobody wants to redevelop Times Square. And obviously everybody wants Times Square to be redeveloped. I said this on Facebook. Times Square we're we have a special love for Times Square. That's where the show started. That's where people gather. That's where you meet the street performers. The guy that used to do the palm fronds, I think he died. But the clock, the restaurants and the retail down there. And he's going to plop a 50-story resort. How do you justify taking a one-story restaurant, which you lost unfairly, and translating that into 50 hotel rooms? Tom, how does that translate?
I think there's an alternate play here, but should we go through the data first, maybe? We could finish with what I think his play is.
You don't bore the audience, but go right ahead.
Okay, so just to kind of compare, it's, again, statistics are an invaluable lesson to me in my life, but this building's overall height from ground is 50 feet. What Prasad is proposing over there is 70 feet on 0.5 acres. Prasad is, by all legal measurements in the town land development code as well, is 5 stories. He's got 5 stories of roof. He's got 5 levels of roof on that building. It's 5 stories tall. He has the right to build 2 over flood. He has the right to build 3 stories total, grade level and 2 above. Prasad's has a rendering of coming over the bridge and his property in the background behind the affectionately called Norm Shaft. And that is not to scale. It is not to scale at all. That building is significantly taller than Margaritaville. You'll see it in that rendering. It looks literally identical to the size of Margaritaville, and it's just barely taller than Norm Shaft. But yet his highest roof lines are 70 feet tall. Margaritaville's, here's where I bore you again, Ed. I'm going to talk about floor area.
So far, you're good. I'm not bored.
Floor area ratio, FAR. I think the community's gotten pretty good.
Yes.
With understanding what FAR is. What FAR is, it tells you how big the box is. It tells you how obstructive, how big the box is. And Margaritaville's floor area ratio is it's actually a little bit under 1.0. Under 1.0. Prasad's is in excess of 2.5. It's in excess of the comp plan maximum. It's virtually 2.5 times more density on the piece of land than what Margaritaville is. Margaritaville's hotel equivalency is 8. Prasad's is double that at 16.
Explain what hotel equivalency is.
So the town has measurements of how much density, another measure of how much density you can put on an acreage of land. And they start with dwelling units called residential dwelling units. And then you have a matrix of how you can transition to hotel use. You get more hotel units on an acre of land than you do residential unit. And the multiplier of the index for Margaritaville is 8. And for Terry Prasad, it's double that at 16. Something really big I'd like to touch on is he's offering no public benefit. One of the
Come on, Tom, cut it out.
He claims public benefit.
You're getting a bike rack, please.
Oh yeah, we got many of them. And who wouldn't want to have bike racks in downtown Fort Myers Beach? I mean, how can you be in business without bike racks?
Right. One of the things we used to always criticize the town about was why there weren't like a line of bike racks in Times Square back in the day, because that would have been great. But yeah.
So right now, temporarily, I agree that under the circumstances, a restaurant on the south end of the island is a public benefit. I do agree with that. Yeah. But that will change with time as it develops. A restaurant in downtown is not a public benefit. It's a business. It's a business.
Folks, just so you know, if you haven't read the public benefits, he lists a restaurant as one of the public benefits. How do you list something that was there before? Like your business was a restaurant. You're rebuilding it with a restaurant. Now, maybe it's going to be with a rooftop and you think that's part of the added public benefit, I guess. But it was a restaurant before. How is that public benefit after? And there's 15 of them within a half a mile walk.
So one of his public proclaimed benefits is I'm going to provide a 10-foot setback from the Times Square Mall. Do you know why he's doing that? Because he's at the comp plan maximum floor area ratio already. If he expanded his footprint out to his setback line into that 10 feet, he'd have to lower the height of the building or he'd exceed the comp plan. It's not a public benefit. it's a public detriment because now you're obstructing the view. You're saying this public benefit of obstructing the view over the bridge is a benefit to the community? Sorry, I get a little emotional about this because, at any rate, I do. And it impacts our view too. It's not just the bridge view, which every one of you and our visitors are that we so cherish. And maybe I'll get into I'm going to hopefully indulge myself and get into some of the things that we did with Margaritaville.
You tell me when you're going to go on a rant. I'll go to the bathroom. I can use that as a pee break.
Okay, so as important as that view is coming over the bridge to this community, one of the things through the process of working with the town that we did with this project was we moved the vast majority of our density to the landward side of Estero Boulevard, away from the beach side of Estero Boulevard. We actually had the by right ability to build 4 stories on that beachside property without any deviation. We had the right to do that. We did show make a model of what that would look like, and it's not pretty. You would lose a huge majority of your bridge view corridor, and when you come down to Estero Boulevard, you would come into the canyon, as the public criticized us for. But it's true. So one of the things we did is we moved our density away from the beach just to give that view corridor. Now, he's not giving public benefit. We sacrificed to do that. He's not giving any public benefit, and he's asking for more height, more density to block our view. Not just our view, I'm saying our in terms of the community and visitors, everybody that comes over that bridge. So
yeah,
that's...
And before we move on to the next one, part of the criticism that his people are trying to put on Tom now is the only reason Tom's against it is because that building is going to block the view of these fine people sitting here trying to look out at the water. And so that's you just be aware of the angles you're going to start to hear over the next few days. Although Tom went through so far a long list of other things, in addition to the fact that, yeah, of course, that building would block the view of the people sitting right here on this terrace.
Yes, it's coming over the bridge. It's Margaritaville's view. It's raping all of our view. And doing it beyond what his by right is. Terry has his rights. He has his by right rights. Build your by right rights. It's fully financially viable. It's very viable, Terry, and you know it is. Build within your rights. You're not providing any public benefit. Get it done tomorrow. Go do it.
Yeah. So go ahead.
Well, if you're going to indulge me, I was going to go through some other things.
Go right ahead. I'm going to take a break while you're going.
Okay, take a break. I'll run through these quickly. I already talked about us shifting our density landward. We eliminated density right over. We have a surface parking lot beside the Lighthouse Hotel there, and we removed all density from that. Which, if you really study it now, subconsciously you don't get it. But with this conversation, if you come down the bridge, and if you imagine, now that you look at that surface parking lot, and you imagine the building there. You can see what kind of a loss of view corridor you would get of that water. So we sacrificed and removed in perpetuity all density on that surface parking lot. We donated a multi-million-dollar piece of land that we acquired to the town that allowed for this interchange redevelopment to happen. That couldn't have happened without it. They would have had to do an eminent domain process. We donated $1 million piece of land, fully improved parking lot, wasting away parking lot that now provides a $300,000 annual annuity to the community of Fort Myers Beach. We talked about our transfer of building density landward. We donated land on 5th Street. We donated land on Crescent Street. And we donated land on Estero Boulevard to widen the right-of-way. That now we have these beautiful wide sidewalks, palm trees on both sides of the walkway. We widened the roadway, not only by giving land, but also by paying for the construction of it to start the left-hand turn lane on the Crescent, right at the curve here, all the way up to Crescent Street. We provided 3 public beach accesses. We eliminated all 7 previously existing ingress-egresses off of Estero Boulevard. Got rid of them all. We have no ingress-egresses off of Estero Boulevard inhibiting traffic. We located all of our service deliveries off streets. It's underneath the resort. We built a pedestrian overpass at our expense. We maintained it at our expense and did the same thing for public restrooms. And the list is longer than that, but I just tried to list a few. And really to make a point, not to say, we did some really good things, but to really illustrate that Terry Prasad is not bringing anything to the table. He's not bringing anything to the table other than BS. So yes, I'm mostly emotional about this because of being a resident here. I love this place.
Yeah. By the way, everybody, Thomas at La Ola, I've seen his plans for the new restaurant. He's not ready. He's tweaking them. He wants them to be perfect for everyone sees them. And I can tell you, it's not a 50-unit hotel that he's putting back there. It's going to be a nice restaurant where he thinks, him and Chris can build it, and it can you got to make money at it. So, and obviously those buildings do need to be higher in that zone because of what happened and the new rules and all that.
Tom is a very credible person.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. And by the way, I was just told Diana harassed me coming out of the bathroom is that our dog Honey, everybody, was ready for adoption. She is being adopted today and the owners are here. So I'm going to have them come over and they're taking my dog. They're taking our dog. We feel like we adopted that dog. Yeah, did they know that we're looking for? Okay. Yeah, we'll just ask them real quick.
Sherry's been working behind the scenes.
Sherry, you didn't tell me this, that Honey was the dog that had all kinds of buckshot in her. There you go. You know what? Why don't you come over? You can leave Honey there if it's come on over and tell us. I'm gonna have her sit right next to you or in the middle here. Yeah. Have a seat. Have a seat. We're gonna ask you 2 quick questions. Okay. Grab that mic, nice and close. So, where are you guys from?
We're from Erie, Pennsylvania.
Erie, Pennsylvania. There's a dog fight. Erie, Pennsylvania. And how did you hear about Honey? Is that your husband right there?
Yeah.
How did you hear about Honey?
Well, we live in Lehigh Acres now, but
okay. Nice and close.
We found her on Facebook.
Nice. Now, do you know the history of what happened to her?
I do.
Yeah. And so we appreciate that you guys are adopting her, and hopefully you'll let me come to your house every couple of weeks and visit her and take pictures. I'm not a creeper or anything, right, Tom? So thank you very much for doing that. Congratulations. Do you have other dogs?
We do, yeah.
Awesome. Oh, they're trying to get acquainted right here. Very nice. Well, thank you very much, and good luck with Honey.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Well, you see, I didn't know that, everybody. That's pretty good news. Thank you very much. Thank you. All right. So where do we leave off? What do we got left, Tom, to talk about?
I was just going to throw out,
I feel so much better.
Neither you nor I want to be accused of any kind of slander for Terry Prasad, and we haven't said anything personal about him, and we won't. But, one thing I'll say, which is not slander, is that I'm from Minnesota. Terry Prasad's from Minnesota. Terry Prasad's home is in Roseville, Minnesota. It's a first-ring suburb on the northeast side of downtown Minneapolis. I have developed, and we have own and operate 5 hotels in Roseville, Minnesota, and in other neighboring, additional ones in other neighboring suburbs there in that vicinity. I never met Terry Prasad until, was it yesterday or 2 days ago when he had his little open house gig. I was walking and just roaming kind of the area there, drinking a beer, and somebody said, "Hi, Tom." And I looked up, and it was Terry Prasad, and I said, "Wow, hi, Terry. I didn't think you even probably knew who I was. We've never met each other."
Really?
And we haven't. I've done 2 land transactions with Terry, but never in person. So, any rate, I know where he lives. I know his business is up there because of all the businesses we have just surrounding him there. And the only way I really knew Terry until the other day, 2 days ago, was from the news clips up on Minneapolis News. But that I really don't know Terry. I really don't. This isn't personal, but a little investigative work will tell you that Terry has never developed anything in his life from ground up other than the 2 homes down on the former Junkanoo property that I don't know if they've got a certificate of occupancy yet today. Terry's not a developer. He doesn't have any experience in doing that. So you kind of question, okay, what's your end game here, Terry? What is it, to flip it? Or, you know, that the county, the town, both want to acquire this property and adjoin Lynn Hall Memorial Park and Crescent Beach Park. And so hypothetically, just hypothetically, if the town was going to, through the process of eminent domain, acquire that property, you know, it goes through an appraisal process. There's a formulated process that it goes through. And if Terry gets approved for density beyond his right, it increases the value of that asset in an appraisal. Do you think Terry knows that? Terry's not dumb. He's not dumb. He's a smart guy. So no slander here, but I think you got to look at the character, the motives, what's really going to happen here, what's being proposed, what's really going to happen here. Is it right for the location? It's not right for the location. It's in the wrong place.
And folks, to give your feedback about that proposal, you should send an email. If you can't go to public comment on Tuesday, you can send an email to amy@fmbgov.com. amy@fmbgov.com. Amy is the town clerk, and she will send the email out to all the LPA members or the town council members if you want her to do that. And that, if you're in support of it, you should send an email that you're in support of it. If you're opposed to it and you want to get involved, you should do that because the LPA for sure, and this isn't a shot at the town council, but I know how some of you feel about the Seagate vote, but the LPA for sure will look at those emails and take your public comment into account before Tuesday.
You know, I just want to close with saying I feel I have every right, you know, as a resident of this community to speak on behalf in opposition to the Prasad proposal and for what I believe are all the justifications I laid out to you. And I hope it doesn't pass. I hope it doesn't advance. I don't think that there's any negotiation at the dais or any conditions that can be imposed at the dais that can modify this project in real time to make it acceptable to the community in its current location. I think it has to go back for a redraw. And I wish Terry the best. When I had the brief conversation the first time I met him 2 days ago, I said, God bless you, Terry. He said, I'm going to get this approved the way it is. I said, well,
no chance.
I said, God bless you, Terry. God bless you.
Zero chance. Does anyone want to bet me a blue moon on that? It has zero chance. Here's this is how delusional I think some people are. That vote is going to be 0-7. He's not going to get one single vote on that proposal as it is. I mean, I could be wrong. I've been wrong many, many times before, but I have covered that LPA for years and years and years. And they have sent people back to the drawing board where I thought, man, I really think that project is a good project. Of course, I don't live on the beach, so I don't know Jack, but that project is going to be 7-0, or he's going to figure out to pull it before it actually gets to that vote.
We all want this island to redevelop but it's not a time. We're not under stress. Nobody's got a gun to our head. We're redeveloping already faster than any other community that's been hit by, you know, the degree of catastrophic event that we have. It's never fast enough, but to do it wrong,
Folks,
isn't
Tom,
the right thing to do.
Before I forget, one of the other arguments he's going to use is the beach needs hotel rooms. So he's going to save the beach with 50 hotel rooms. Folks, Neptune is coming back. Meyerside has been approved. Moss Marina, the Arches is 200 and whatever the number is down there, 256. All those projects are ahead of his.
Lanakai's got another 50. Since that TDC report,
Tacos.
We've got
the condos are coming back
they're all
too.
coming back.
He's not going to be the savior for 50 hotel rooms in Times Square, which is a completely different animal. That is like sacred ground on this beach, and the project has to be perfect. Listen, of course, my opinion means nothing. Unfortunately, the town council doesn't have a vision for Times Square right now either. Now, I know they've had a million other things to do.
I think most of the council, if not all, and most of the LP, if not all, feel that property should be acquired from Terry, and I think Terry knows it.
Yeah. So Stop clapping for Tom, please. You can clap now. I'm going to ask two questions. If you were on the LPA Tuesday and you would vote yes, clap. A little louder. If you were on the LPA and you had to vote Tuesday, would you vote no?
Just think of Times Square if that was a park on the beach side of the mall connecting the Crescent and the Lynn Hall Park. And then the commercial side, the landward side of the Times Square was all developed and direct facing out to the Gulf of Mexico with a park in front of you. And your view corridor is saved. You're developing setback from where Terry's proposing. Your view corridor is preserved as long as you stay with the 2 stories over flood height. Just think of what just use your imagination how magnificent this place could be.
Yeah. And my wife is watching. She says no betting, so I can't bet anybody a beer about the vote. She says I'm not allowed to bet. So does anybody in the audience have any questions for Tom? I want to make sure if anyone has. Dave Nussbaum has questions. He is the chair of the Murph committee. Dave?
Unrelated to that.
Okay.
What do you think the chances are of having a Margaritaville sports bar in Santini?
His question was, oh, look at that. You're getting more applause, Tom. This is the last time I'm ever inviting you on the show. You get too much applause. He wants to know whether there is going to be a Margaritaville sports bar in Santini Plaza.
I'd have a conversation with the guy, forget his name, but
Yariv.
What is it?
Yariv from Santini, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd happily run it for you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Not the conversation, the bar.
I understand.
Well, they sell Blue Moon because I can't believe you discontinued Blue Moon here.
I'm ignoring you right now.
Any other questions for Tom? Anybody? All right. Oh, thank you, Tom. Big hand for Tom Torgerson. Appreciate you coming on, man. Thank you so much. All right, folks, before we get out of here, don't forget, we're giving away prizes after I read my 2 sponsors of the day. You have to fill out a piece of paper. You don't need to purchase anything. If you didn't fill it out, please fill it out. Right after I read these 2 ads, you're going to get your choice of 2 passes to the pool, 2 comp parking passes, or a 50-minute massage from Dave Nussbaum. So I want to thank our 2 sponsors of the day, Parrot Key. Parrot Key located right on the other side of San Carlos Island. We're going to annex San Carlos Island soon, everybody, soon. So pretty soon it's just going to be called Fort Myers Beach. I'm kidding. We're not going to annex them, but they are located right on the other side of the Matanzas Pass Bridge. Waterfront dining at Salty Sam's Marina. They have Sunday brunch from 9 a.m. to noon featuring Monster Mary's bottomless mimosas and lobster eggs Benedict. And, of course, in February, they have like this Ohio and Wisconsin days. It was crazy. It's the great Frank Torino every Thursday and Saturday night. Please stop by Parrot Key with one of your yellow shirts on. And thank you all for wearing your yellow shirts today. We appreciate it very much. I've got a special shirt that I'll be wearing, a special new yellow shirt that I'll be wearing tomorrow during my interview with the Vice Mayor. And also the Island Pancake House. We love those guys down there, located in the Seagrape Plaza. And we're going to be there for a special show on Friday with Anita Saracita and Dawn and Mike Miller. The Island Pancake House serving breakfast and lunch. They're open 7 days a week from 7:30 to 2 o'clock. And they have a full bar, everybody, which the people on Fort Myers Beach, they don't really care that much about the pancakes. But it's when they have pancakes and a full bar that really keeps them going. And they're locally owned. You can order any breakfast you want, and they'll make it for you. It's the Island Pancake House. Thank you to Brian and Stacy, lovely people down there in the Seagrape Plaza. Thank you all for coming. We're going to discontinue the Facebook because we're going to draw our prize right after that. And we'll be back tomorrow at 10 o'clock at Wahoo Willie's for our Vice Mayor meeting or show tomorrow. Thank you all. Big round of applause for Tom Torgerson.